In this video, I'm going to show you how you can amplify your SDR team's performance with a signal-based automated personalized outbound system. After seeing the behind the scenes of dozens and dozens of B2B SaaS companies, agencies, consultancies, B2B product companies, and a bunch of different marketing and sales orgs, there's a few things that really separate the ones who are absolutely smashing it and killing it from the ones who are kind of all over the place and they're not doing as well as they know they could be. Usually the problem is that a lot of these companies and their sales teams are all over the place. Marketing is focusing on one thing, sales is doing one thing, salespeople are hustling and doing manual prospecting and building their own personalized workflows and campaigns. So what we want to show you how to build in this video is how we standardize outbound and build a signal-based automated personalized outbound system that is essentially a demand gen engine that allows your SDR team to focus on converting top of funnel demand into booked appointments and not scattering their time manually hustling and building workflows. So to summarize what I'm going to be going over, this outbound system is going to accomplish three things. Number one is it's actually going to get positive replies from your target market, which is going to lead to booked meetings. Number two is it's going to allow your SDRs to focus on converting leads that are coming in instead of going out and hunting and manually prospecting for leads without a standardized workflow. And number three is it's going to standardize and centralize the whole entire process and make it a lot easier, as well as make it simple so that you have visibility on what's going on without all of these different moving pieces. Because in order for this to work, it needs to be very lean and very simple. Now the question is, how do we build this and what does it look like? I'm going to split this up into two sections based on what the priorities usually are for our clients. Number one is going to be being able to send personalized automated outbound that actually generates demand from your target market or ICP without you getting ghosted and without ruining your brand reputation. And number two is building a system for your SDRs or your future SDRs, if you're early right now, to work under and follow. For example, if a lead takes an action, opens an email, downloads a white paper, clicks on your website, that should trigger something for your SDR to follow up and get them booked on a meeting, right? That should prioritize that lead over others. And if there's no answer, it should be put into a longer term sequence or a cadence with more follow-ups and more tasks for the SDR to keep following up. Because honestly, guys, without putting any of this stuff in place, your sales reps are literally just going to be manually prospecting, hunting, and just kind of being all over the place without following any sort of centralized process, which is exactly what we want to avoid when we start scaling. So let's start with number one, guys. First of all, automated personalized outbound that actually converts. Outbound has completely changed. It's a lot harder, it's a lot more difficult, but it still works if you do it properly. However, the days of sending hundreds and thousands of generic templated emails are over. That's not going to work. What we want to do now is be able to send automated personalized emails that actually convert because they look one-to-one and they land in your prospect's inbox at the right time when they're actually actively looking for your solution. And we do this in two different ways. Let me draw it out for you. Now, guys, we use two methods, right? And the first one is going to be called straight cold outbound, right? Straight cold, right? And the second one is going to be something we call signal-based, okay? Signal-based outbound. Okay, now let me actually walk you through exactly what they are, right? So with the first one, we have straight cold outbound. Okay, it's gonna do S. Okay, what we essentially are doing is we're finding out who your ICP is. Okay, so your ICP is going to be your target market, your TAM, your personas, whatever job titles you're going after, their demographics. All right, what we want to do after that is we want to break those up into different personas, right? Different buckets, right? Based on persona, right? Demographic, demo, right? Whatever it is, pain point, right? We want to put these into different buckets, right? We want to put these into different buckets and we want to figure out what their pain points are and what your product actually fixes for that specific persona, for that specific pain point, right? And then what we want to do next is we want to create an offer, right? That is optimized for cold traffic. Now, what I mean by that is you can't just say like, we help contractors make more money or something. It has to be something specific. It has to be something specific that you solve for a specific persona, a specific job title, a specific persona. For example, right? We are an outbound go-to-market agency, right? We don't just help everyone at the company. We help specific positions, specific titles at the company. For example, we would be a perfect fit to work with a director of demand generation or a head of demand generation, right? Or the chief revenue officer or the CMO at a company. And all of these different titles are going to resonate with different offers, with different messaging, with different things that I can offer them, right? A head of demand gen might want to work with us because we can do messaging, right? We can kind of automate these workflows and really work within Clay, right? But what a chief revenue officer is going to resonate with is going to be a lot more bird's eye view stuff, like getting them an ROI on their spend, right? Getting them an ROI on their outbound, right? Increasing the amount of demos booked per sales rep, right? More higher level picture stuff. So you have to make specific offers based on your ICP. Right? Now, what we do is we use something specific and we'll use something called a front-end offer, right? Now, a front-end offer, what that is essentially like a free part of your product or service that just makes it so easy for someone to say yes to. So for example, an outbound agency, I could literally go up to these companies and say, hey, I will build you a list of 1,000 leads in your ICP, right? Or hey, John, saw that you're the head of demand gen at XY company and you just released a Series A. I'm assuming that, pipeline is really important for you at this stage. I've already put together a whole strategy doc on how you can break into XYZ personas and book 10, 20 more leads on your calendar every single week. Just reply with a yes and I'll send it over. That's an example of front-end offer, right? Doing a little bit of that work on the front end to get them into your ecosystem, right? And then what we do after that is put them in a multi-channel sequence. So we're going to send emails, right? We're going to send LinkedIn, and we're going to do cold calling. So these three things are going to be multi-channel sequence, right? And that's going to allow us to increase the possibility of them getting on our calendar, all right? And then also, guys, we're not done. If the email if the person responds to the email, right? If the person responds, right? SDR gets pinged, right? And they pick up the phone, we enrich the data, right? The SDR can pick up the phone and call, right? And if they don't answer, right? Then it goes to the next step in the sequence, right? So that's an example of our straight cold outbound strategy, guys. Now, I want to talk next about the signal-based outbound strategy. So with Signal, we want to look for different intent signals, different triggers, or whatever we can look at that is going to tell us that they might be in a good position or they might be on the market for looking for your product or service. For example, these things could be stuff like fundraising, right? They just raised a round, right? They could be something like, they're using a specific tech stack, right? For example, one of our customers, they only went after Stripe users, right? So if someone was using Stripe, that's an intent signal. That's a trigger for us, right? Something could be like something that they newly hired for a specific position, right? For us, for example, we're looking for people who just hired for, demand gen executives or, a head of business development, because that tells us that people are looking to increase and scale their pipeline, right? Or if they're just hiring for someone too. Like, these are examples of signals, right? There's a lot more, but these are just examples of this, right? And what we can do is after this is we can use these signals as personalization in our messaging, right? So we could say, like, hey, John, saw that you guys just raised your Series A. I'm assuming that increasing pipeline is, a priority for you guys. Or, hey, John, saw that you guys just hired for a head of demand gen. I'm assuming that, increasing pipeline is a priority for you guys right now. Is that right? Right? So doing stuff like that. And I'm using Outbound as an example because I've already put the thought into my offer, but you can reverse engineer this into any offer that you're running, right? And then after the personalization, again, we have offer, right? So we need to have an optimized offer that is ready to convert cold traffic, right? It can't just be something that you would push to someone who already knows who you are. Again, it has to be some sort of free work, free service, or something lower commitment to get them to say yes, right? That puts them into your funnel. And I just went over that a few minutes ago. So once you figure that out, then again, same exact thing, right? Multi-channel sequences. You have email, right? You have LinkedIn, and you have cold call, right? And then again, depending on what happens, if yes, the person responds, the SDR calls, right? because whoever responds, the SDR or the person appointment setter, should be reaching out as soon as possible. And if not, then next step in the sequence. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Okay, just comment in below if that made sense. Okay, and this is what the point is of this strategy is basically this is where we find out what specific signals would tell us if a prospect may be in the market for what you're selling, and it allows us to hit them at the right time. And what we're using to build out all of this stuff, guys, is a tool called clay.com, right? So Clay is a really, really good tool for any B2B organization that's running any marketing, outbound, or sales motion, right? It's essentially something that we use as a data terminal, right? If you guys want more videos on Clay stuff, just let me know in the comments and I'll make more video on Clay stuff. I don't want to get too deep into that right now, but let's go on to the next thing, okay? Now, number 2, guys, is building a system for your SDRs or your future SDRs to work under and follow. After sitting under the hood of a bunch of sales and marketing orgs across different verticals, guys, I know what separates a killer team from a pretty subpar or average one. And one of the number 1 things is prioritizing and knowing which leads to reach out to at the right time for your SDR specifically, guys. Before we get into what your SDR should be doing, let's talk about what they should not be doing. Your SDR should not be building Clay workflows, building personalized email sequences, doing account research to find personalization on leads, or cold calling random lists in your CRM that are separated to each individual rep without having any system in place. A lot of sales teams right now are doing this, and it's totally wrong. You're not going to be able to scale, and stuff is just going to get jumbled all over the place. On the other hand, this is what sales reps at organizations that are smashing it are doing right now. They have a list of tasks ready at the start of every single day. They know what leads to reach out to. They know what people to follow up with. They have inbound leads coming in with enriched and personalized data ready for them to pick up the phone and dial. And they have responses coming in from outbound demand gen campaigns that were taken care of by marketing that they can, again, pick up the phone and call and get demos booked. And we're actually building all of this out in Clay for teams as well. But yeah, guys, let me draw out some of those workflows that we build for you guys so you have a better understanding. So the first workflow that we're going to want to build is something that we call the website visitor workflow, right? This is one that I think every single B2B team, B2B sales org should have implemented. Essentially, what it does is every single time a website visitor goes on your website, we want to basically filter them to see if they're in your ICP, right? If they are in your ICP, then we're going to figure out what their contact information is, right? We're going to enrich that data, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to create or put them in a sequence or cadence, right? And if they are an ICP fit, what we'll do is we'll just give that enriched data to your SDR to reach out and call that person and get them booked on a demo, right? That's what we want to do. And if they're not in your ICP, then what we can do is we can go prospect and go find the person at the company who is, right, for ICP fit, right? So we'll go ahead and find the prospect who is an ICP fit, and then we'll add them to the sequence and have the SDR call them and get the demo booked, right? So that's one of them, which is the website visitor workflow, okay? Very easily set up with tools like Vector, RB2B, right? These are a few of them, right? There's a bunch out there, right? Number 2, I want to talk about one called LinkedIn engagement workflow, right? LinkedIn workflow, okay? So this one, essentially, what it does is similar to the website visitor workflow, except the trigger is not someone landing on your website, it's someone engaging on LinkedIn, right? So if someone comments, right, or likes, right, what we'll do is we can put them through a filter to see if they're an ICP fit, right? And then so on, right? And if they are an ICP fit, we'll put them in sequence, right? Have SDR reach out, right? And if they're not ICP, then we'll find who is, and then we can put them into the sequence. All right, guys? That's exactly how those ones work. And now, guys, the last one I want to show you guys, which just makes it a lot easier. And now, guys, the last one I want to walk you through is something that we call the outbound lead workflow. And this is what's going to make it a lot easier for your AEs and your SDRs to basically convert positive responses into booked demos. Essentially, if what you're doing right now is you have your SDRs just writing all their own sequences and booking appointments by themselves, you need to separate this out, right? You need to separate marketing and sales, right? So what this does is essentially puts marketing, right? Marketing and sales gets split up, right? Marketing becomes in charge, right? Marketing becomes in charge of outbound, right? Building the outbound engine, writing the copy, right? Building the lead lists, right? And sales team essentially converts responses into meetings. All right, guys? So the outbound engine, this workflow basically splits up marketing and sales. So marketing is going to build the outbound engine, the demand gen engine, copy and lead lists, and the sales team is going to focus on converting the responses from that outbound engine into meetings. So how that essentially works is, let's say a campaign is launched, right? And response comes in, okay? Response, reply, okay? Reply comes in. If it's positive, right? That is going to get enriched, right? With phone number, right? It's going to get enriched with a phone number, and it's going to get sent to an SDR in CRM, SDR task. It's going to be tasked to an SDR in the CRM. They're going to pick up the phone, dial, and book. Okay, very, very simple workflow here, guys. So instead of all of your SDRs building out different workflows and different campaigns, all we do is marketing takes care of all the outbound. A reply comes in. If it's positive, we enrich the data, right? We got a phone number in there, and then we push that to your CRM, whatever you're using, HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever. We add an SDR task, and then your SDR picks up the phone, dials, and gets the appointment booked, right? And then your sales process begins. Okay, guys, very, very simple. Now, guys, if you want to see the full breakdown on exactly what I just talked about in a document format, you can click the link in the description below. It's going to give you a full visualized process and a breakdown of exactly how this works so that you could reverse engineer it and implement it into your own business. But guys, this is the system that we've been building for companies, and it's crushing it, and it's allowed us to generate over 1 billion in pipeline for our clients. So if you're interested in working with us and you want to learn more about how we can help your business specifically, you could hit the second link in the description below and apply to book a call with us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.